Okay, let's get started. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining our first ever mini series, Success Blocks, Onboarding, Escalation, and Adoption. I'm Tess. I'm the Content Marketing Manager for Totango. And for this first installment of our mini series, we will be focusing on customer onboarding. Before we get started, I just want to share a little bit today about why this technology is valuable to you. So let's just take a look at our agenda. We're going to be covering SPARC, onboarding best practices from our website, and onboarding success blocks. So why is this valuable to you? Here you're looking at Totango's mission and accelerating the customer-centered economy. In the digital world where the customer is in the driver's seat, Totango enables companies to center around their customers and drive customer-centered growth. This is where the customer is the primary orientation point for business. So for true digital transformation, enterprises must progress to become customer-centered organizations, where they learn from the customer data and deploy that knowledge in every customer interaction to achieve business results. This means your business success is your customer's success are now the same. So now I'd like to turn it over to Ravit. She's our VP of Product Management, and she can share with you more about our modular approach to customer success.
Hi, good morning, everybody. And I'm happy to join today to share a little bit more around SPARC, and specifically in regards to SuccessBLOC, onboarding SuccessBLOC, how we manage to deliver best practices within it, and why Totango and Totango SPARC is actually the right tool to enable you achieve your success blocks and customer goals. So the first thing is SPARC drive results faster. And we already spoke about, and for the ones that were part of the earlier webinars that I shared, we spoke about the fact that SPARC is focused on result, not just activities. And the main focus is driving result faster. And today what we want to focus on is why. Why can SuccessBLOC and Totango SPARC enable you to drive result faster? The way we are looking on SPARC is this is a soup to nuts. It has whatever you need in order to start and deliver on every process that you have in your organization. You will see in a minute that once we drill down to the product, Totango SPARC, specifically for the SuccessBLOC onboarding and for all the others we will be covering, has all the ingredients to drive an effective onboarding. It's very easy, it's simple, and it's elegant. So just to recap a little bit what we've covered a little bit before in the other two webinars we have, Totango SPARC is organized around the concept of SuccessBLOC. SuccessBLOC is a modular concept for customer success, allowing organizations to start with their most critical business priority and grow into broader customer success initiative. Each SuccessBLOC contains goals that guide the enterprise through a successful completion of each stage within their customer engagement with the relevant KPIs. Each SuccessBLOC is modular. It's implemented in a way that will enable you to measure its goals and value very fast. It enables you to present and to articulate your own customer journey, your own engagement with your customers while leveraging best practices that we are sharing for each one of those SuccessBLOC. And as I already said, SuccessBLOCs are scalable. You can start with one and then grow that to the rest of your customer engagement as well as to the rest of the company. Today, we would like to focus on customer onboarding and see how Totango SPARC and the best practices that we are sharing, enabling you to achieve onboarding. So one of the things we did when we started was looking on onboarding and trying to understand what am I trying to achieve? What is my company trying to achieve when they're running an onboarding process with their customers? So the main thing that we were focusing is my company is my company goal is to make sure all customers are going through an effective and consistent onboarding process. There are three goals that I'm using in order to measure my success. One, I want to make sure that I'm meeting the onboarding project timelines according to my company guidelines. The second one is I would like to make sure that every customer has a smooth experience while onboarding. And the last one, I want to make sure that I will have high adoption of the product after onboarding. Obviously, these are the goals that I have defined for my company. It might be that within your organization, you have some more goals, and Totango SPARC will give you the ability to measure and to present those goals. So now let's see how you can drive and present those goals and how to drive an effective onboarding process within Totango. I'll start with going to Totango website. What you can see in Totango website is that under solutions, you can find list of SuccessBLOC. These are the SuccessBLOCs for which we provide already out of the box best practices that each one of you can take, leverage, and mimic within your product. Let's drill to onboarding. So for each SuccessBLOC, you will find, first of all, what is my goal? What is my mission? What am I trying to achieve with onboarding? Here, as I mentioned before, I want to make sure that my customers will be familiar enough with the product, and their onboarding process will be consistent and effective, as well as very helpful for them to start and leverage on the product later on. For each one of those SuccessBLOCs, you can see over here, you have a very similar structure to what you will meet later on in Totango product. You can see what are the goals and KPIs, what are the different customers list that will be taking part in onboarding, what are the company best practices for onboarding, and lastly, what are the automation solutions, success plays, and campaigns that I will be using. You can find this structure for each one of the SuccessBLOC that is currently presented in Totango website and follow the best practices that are presented within it. So with that, let's drill down to onboarding specifically, and let's see what are the different goals and KPIs that I have defined for my company. So as we mentioned before, the first thing that I would like to make sure is that I'm implementing and managing the timeline for my onboarding customers. So this is the first goal that I have defined. And for that goal, I'll measure that leveraging 3 KPIs that I can measure within Totango. The first one of them is how long does it take me to onboard a specific customer, and to make sure that it meets the company expectation. So I can define what is the target that I'm looking at, and how and measure that and compare that to the amount of time it takes me. The second one is I want to make sure that customers are not staying within a specific stage too long. And the last one is I want to make sure that I'm getting better, that my onboarding time trend is actually improving from one customer to another, that I manage to solve the problems that I have, and I can go ahead and improve my time to onboarding. So this is the first goal that I will define. The second one, as we discussed before, will be to make sure that I deliver great experience. And within Totango, I will measure that leveraging 2 KPIs that we have in the product. The first one is feedback during onboarding, and the second one, is the customer health. Leveraging those 2 KPIs, I will be able to make sure that my customers are having a great experience. And the last goal that I would like to focus on is ensuring a very strong adoption after the onboarding project. And I will measure that again, leveraging 2 KPIs. One of them is what is the customer adoption in the first 90 days post-onboarding. Once they finished onboarding, what is their adoption of the product? And then the second KPI that I'll be using is making sure that the engagement and customer adoption is actually trending up. By defining those 3 goals with the different KPIs, I will be able to make sure that my customers are going to consistent and effective onboarding. So these are the goals, and we'll see them. How do I set up those goals in Totango? The second piece that I would like to look at is which list of customers do I would like to focus on. So the first one is customers that are pending onboarding. Which customers are waiting right now to start the onboarding process? Second one is I want to see the customers that are currently taking part of onboarding and be able to focus on those. And the last one, in order to measure adoption of customers post onboarding, is to focus on customers that recently graduated and finished their onboarding processes, and now they can go ahead and start to adopt the product. One of the things that Totango SPARC enable you to do more than all is leveraging best practices. So the first is leveraging Totango best practices, as you can see right now from our website and later on within the product. But the second thing is you might have specific best practices within your company that you would like to share with the whole customer success people that are now taking part of onboarding processes. You can define those documents and make sure those will be stored in Totango Onboarding SuccessBLOC, so each CSM will be able to access those data files very quickly and make sure that he gets all the data within one system, Totango. The next thing is how do I ensure that I can actually engage with my customers? How the CSM will make sure that he can actually go ahead and drive the specific workflows that my company is driving for within onboarding. So I defined here 3 success plays that we believe in Totango that you should be driving with your CSM's team. The first one is internal handoff and preparation. Once an account, once a customer bought our product and he now needs to go ahead and start the onboarding process, I would like to make sure that there is a very clear and quick assignment for this account for a CSM. And then I want to make sure that the CSM is getting all the details, all the relevant details from the sales manager that took part in this customer engagement. In order to do that, I have here defined internal handoff and preparation workflow that I will trigger based on all the customers that start onboarding. Every customer that was just signed on a contract and need to start onboarding, I want to make sure that a manager will have a very quick task to assign a success manager for him, and then go ahead and document whatever was exposed as part of the sales handover. Another success play that I would like to make sure is that execute on the onboarding project according to the company best practices. And for that, I can definitely point my people to the documents that we have just attached with the company best practices. And lastly is the post-onboarding handoff. What are the things that need to happen when the onboarding ended? And I will want to make sure that the customer is starting handoff of those specific items. Each one of those success plays has a very specific task within it, and you can find all the data within Totango best practices. And lastly, how do I would like to engage with customers that finish onboarding? The first thing that I would like to do is I would like to send them a welcome email. So once onboarding ends, I want to make sure that I'm sending them a welcome email that they can now go ahead and leverage the product. The second thing that we are suggesting to start and use is go ahead and define and share with the customers a progress or a status email that provide the customers with ability what has been happening, how long have they been using the product, and how much functionality have they using so far. And the last one around campaigns is sending my customers a status email. How are we doing so far? We would like to leverage feedback, and making sure that the onboarding will be successful, as I mentioned before, is a very critical step in order to ensure the customer satisfaction later on. By pinging the customers and asking them for feedback and status in an ongoing basis, I will make sure that I'm making my process actually better. Now, all those best practices, as you can see over here, are relevant as well for other success blocks that we will be covering in the next webinars that we will be having. You can find all the data within Totango website under success block, where you can find the different best practices for each one of the success blocks that we will be focusing on. As you can see over here, the list is getting longer, and we are adding more and more success blocks to the website moving forward. So now with that, let's see how Totango SPARC actually enable you to define those best practices. So within the product, what you can see is exactly the same structure that we were just familiarized with within the website. So for onboarding, I have the different goals and KPIs that I would like to measure. Then I have the segments that represent the list of customers that are currently taking part in onboarding. Then I have the reports and assets where I can leverage in order to report on the progress of my customers and present assets and success plays and campaigns that we just saw in order to drive automation. So let's see how it's mapped within Totango. As you can see over here, I have the 3 goals that I was just covering a minute ago within Totango defined. So I have the onboarding timeline. I want to make sure that my customers are meeting the project timeline. And if there's a problem there, I would like to be able to execute on that. And we'll see that in a minute. How do I do that? I would like to make sure that I have a very smooth experience for the customers, which I can measure by escalation and health. And lastly, I want to make sure that customers are using the product post-onboarding, as we were just mentioning. If I'll drill down to one of those KPIs and goals, I'll be able to see the customers that are taking part in it and what's their status. So the first thing that I can see is the list of customers, as I mentioned before, that are currently taking part in onboarding. For each one of them, I can get data and list of items that I would like to track. The first thing that I would like to see is where are those customers within the onboarding phase. So one of the things that you can now model with onboarding in Totango is the ability to define onboarding lifecycle status. We in Totango believe that there are few stages within the Totango lifecycle status, and you can find that as well as part of the best practices. There's a kickoff that needs to happen with the customer. Then there's a planning phase, configuration phase, go live phase where the customer go live, and then the onboarding completed, and the customer can start his adoption. What I can see in the progress view, I can track the progress of each one of my accounts within those stages. So I can see all the accounts that are currently taking part in kickoff. I can see all the accounts that are currently part of planning. And for each one of them, I can see how many days the account is actually spending within that specific life cycle. So for example, here for onboarding life cycle within kickoff stage, I can see the different days that each one of those accounts is spending here. And then going back to the goals that I have defined, if I know that a specific customer is spending too long within one of the stages, I can leverage the success plays in order to trigger some activities and tasks to the customer success manager who is responsible for that account. Next thing that I can see under this view is the list of activities for each one of those accounts, and I can leverage that within my review meetings with my team. So if I'm now doing a review meetings for all the accounts that's currently in onboarding with my team, I can actually go ahead and see what is the activity that is happening with each one of them. And then if there's any outstanding work, I can definitely go ahead and leverage it here. So I can use the view both in order to track the progress of my customers within onboarding. I can leverage this view in order to see the progress of those accounts. And lastly, in order to trigger any outstanding work. In this example, as you can see over here, I might see that there are accounts as we mentioned before, that are stuck in onboarding, and I'll go ahead and define success plays for those accounts in order to make sure that they will not spend in onboarding too long. If I'll go to the success plays, I can see that I have a success play that is looking on internal handoff and preparation and make sure that customers, that customers will not stuck within that stage. Each one of the success block, as you can see over here, can verify that can verify within the segments data what's the status of customers and whether I should be taking an action in order to drive a specific behavior with those customers. Another things that we saw that we have within those success blocks is the best practices document that I covered before. As you can see here, I uploaded within Totango the documents that my company is driving and following as part of onboarding. The first one is important things that I should be familiar with in order to drive a successful onboarding. And the other one is overview of the different steps that needs to be done for onboarding. I can upload those documents and then follow them. As I mentioned before, there are a lot of best practices within Totango website, as well as best practices here that can be added by the company if the company has any specific best practices. We covered success plays that presented different success plays that can be achieved or generated within the onboarding success blocks. And lastly, as you can see over here, I have created the campaigns that are now part of the Totango best practices for customers onboarding. So I have here, for example, the ongoing welcome email for customers that complete onboarding. I can see very clearly that the segment here is for customers that completed onboarding in the last day, which means any customer that completes its onboarding can go ahead and now get this campaign automatically. I don't need to take care of it. This is something that will be handled by the system, and every customers that will finish onboarding will get this campaign automatically in order to drive, in order to start and adopt the product. One thing that I would like to show is, as you can see over here, there are different types of KPIs and graphs that you can leverage in order to measure those success blocks. Those KPIs and goals are not editable by any user unless you are a system user or an admin within Totango. Only if you're an admin, you will be able to go ahead and configure those items in order to go and define different metrics and KPIs. I would like to address a few of the questions that we have. One of the questions that we had here was, can I change the goals and KPIs once I actually publish an onboarding success block? The answer is definitely yes. You can go ahead and change the KPIs and the goals if you are a global admin at any point in time, and the dashboard will show you the up-to-date data for that specific KPI or goal based on your definition. Another question that was posted on the website, on the GoToMeeting, is whether Totango will be sharing additional success blocks, best practices, and the answer for that is yes. We will be sharing additional success block best practices both on the website as well as leveraging those webinars going forward with customers and prospects, as we are doing right now. The first one today focus on onboarding. The series include currently three webinars. The second one is focusing on escalation, and the one after it will be focusing on adoption, where we'll be seeing what are we trying to achieve with each one of those success blocks and what's Totango best practices for those individual success blocks. So you can find the best practices both on the website as well as ongoing sharing within those webinars. Last question that we had here on that was whether those best practices will be applicable and applied within the product in an easy manner. And the answer for that is definitely yes. We will be sharing those SuccessBLOC in the product. It will be very easy to leverage them. You can already go ahead and leverage them today, but you can also, you will be also able to leverage them within the product in the next few releases of Totango SPARC. If there are any other questions, please go ahead and post them on the website. One of the other questions was, if I have different goals and KPIs, how do I position them here within the SuccessBLOC? So SuccessBLOC include a very focused goals and KPIs for the target of that SuccessBLOC. So if I'm running an onboarding SuccessBLOC, I would like to make sure that I'm defining here the different onboarding goals and KPIs for that SuccessBLOC. If I have different teams within my company that are positioned in different regions maybe, and each one of them has different KPIs and different goals, you can definitely go ahead and define onboarding SuccessBLOC or any other SuccessBLOC for each success team within Totango. Each success team in Totango, which I assume most of the customers are using, can have its own SuccessBLOC. Each one of those SuccessBLOC can have different goals and KPI. So you can definitely go ahead and define different goals and timelines for each one of the project that you have, leveraging Totango success teams. Another question that we had here was whether we are going to share a recording of this webinar. And the answer for that is yes. As always, you will be able to find the recordings for the webinars as well as other materials in Totango website, as well as with an email that will be shared after this session with all of you. There was here another question that looks on the different SuccessBLOC that were executed and from where do we pull the data of last success flows. Success flows are being driven on each individual account, and you can go ahead and find the information within the account data. So if you're running 3 success plays that are associated with onboarding success flow, you will find under the account that the last success flow was onboarding. This is a functionality that is available on Totango account profile, and you can find it right away. So you can know what's the stage of a specific account within a SuccessBLOC, and you can know also what were the last success flows that were executed on top of this account. Another question was how to create SuccessBLOC that will address the needs of different tiers. For example, if you have low-touch customers versus high-touch customers, or you have customers that are tier 1 customers and tier 2 customers, and you would like to set different goals for each one of them. My recommendation here will be, if you are driving the exact same processes with those customers, the same success plays and the same campaigns, you can put all their goals and KPIs within one SuccessBLOC for onboarding, and just make sure you differentiate between the different targets and goals for those. If those customers will be presented with different campaigns and different success plays, which in most cases happens because you do give different experience for high-touch customers versus low-touch customers, or for tier 1 customers versus tier 2 customers. If that's the case, you can go ahead and create 2 SuccessBLOC and then define the data within those SuccessBLOC. But you can see over here in my example that I do have low-touch customers and tech-touch customers, because the onboarding process does encounter for those two types of accounts with the same experience in this example. But it depends on the way your company is driving those. I believe we addressed most of the questions that we had. I will encourage you to send additional questions following the webinar to me or to Totango Marketing. You can leverage either the email with the feedback that will be coming after this webinar, as well as going into support and providing feedback. All of you that started to leverage Totango SPARC in the last few days will be getting some feedback and questionnaire at the beginning of next week. And I'll appreciate if you will go ahead and share with us the feedback. And you can definitely leverage this channel in order to go ahead and ask for additional questions. So this is for today's webinar, where we covered how do we see onboarding going and what's the best practices for Totango onboarding, leveraging SPARC. As you can see, as I mentioned at the beginning, SPARC provides you all the ingredients and the solutions and the right tools in order to drive a successful and consistent onboarding project. You can find the best practices on Totango website, as well as reach out to us and we will be able to share additional data. You can find the recording under blogs within Totango website as well. Thank you for listening. And thank you, and we are hoping to hear you again and to leverage the next webinar to provide additional data on Totango escalation and Totango adoption success blocks.